Good morning, everyone. Let's get started. The minutes from the June 15th meeting. Is there any questions or comments on those? If none, would someone make a motion for those to be accepted? David Moore, is there a second to that motion? Joe Semio. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Budget report is attached. Couple of revenues, the application fee from Huffman's Car Wash project, some interest earnings, standard expenses for salaries and taxes, $765 of expenses at Tryon, which involve mowing and electricity costs, and a monthly bill for update work on our website from Emery Designs. Pretty simple months of transactions. Motion to accept. Joe Semio makes a motion to accept. Is there Mike second? Who makes a second to that? Any other questions or on the budget report? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Committee reports. Joe, you had the audit. Okay. Other reports, is Brian Taylor checked in, Scott?
No,
Same problem. I don't have his. I do have his email. I do have his email. I did mention it. Yes, just that there were the two expenses from Tryon. Warren, why don't you start with your report?
Just fill in the gap, right? Well, there isn't too much of a report since the last time. Yeah, I know. So I'll just say this. The Capital Projects Committee is going to be meeting later this month, and they'll be discussing several things, big projects along the way. I would consider one of them a big infrastructure project, which you guys are already aware of, the Route 30 corridor project. And then there's going to be, I would consider it two like big tourist projects to be looked at. I won't go into those right now. I'll let them, take the lead on that. But I hope they're both going to go through. So there'll be the three major projects. They'd be funded, I think, primarily through the CARES Act. There's about $10 million coming our way. Half of which we've already received. I think I said that last time. After the Capital Project Committee approves whatever projects that they do, it still has to go through some other projects, hoops. Yeah, hoops is the right word, before it reaches the full board for their approval. So that'll take place in the fall. But like I said, the Capital Projects Committee does meet later this month. So that'll be the start of all this. Okay. Yeah, I know. Don't worry.
Okay, we'll try to get Brian Taylor from the CRG hooked in. While we're doing that, let's just continue on with the business. Okay. Yes. And we're going to talk about it again here. Yeah, you saw that? With the Nexus Renewables project, Joe needed some CPR once he finished signing all of the documents that were associated with that project. Yes. So all of the revised lease, revenue sharing agreements, easement agreements, cross access and interconnection easement documents have all been signed. And Kara is working with Nexus's attorney on the closing documents for providing the sales tax exemptions. Kara, any update on that?
I haven't received any update about timing. I think they were thinking the end of this month. sometime in August, but I'll reach out and see if there's an updated report. I know that they really wanted to work on the NYSERDA part of it to get those signed leases over to them. So now that that is done and in the works, I think we should be able to move forward.
They also wanted us to complete their financing. Also, right? And since now they have all of the documents, they can, they're in the process of doing that. So, right?
Correct, yes.
All right. So it's moving forward. Next, the,
Yeah, just with that, I just find comment that it was a lot of work to sign things, no big deal. But it was so organized. Carol does a good job, you know, you've seen her in action. Like that's just everything is laid out, everything had stickers on what needed to be notarized, what didn't need to be notarized. You know, kept it flowing, so instead of an hour-long marathon, 20-25 minutes, you know, things are done. So just want to put in the notes that Carol did a very good job organizing it.
Really
I'm sure you helped out getting everything all organized too, but it's so easy for me to just step in and just sign it and start seeing all these stacks of papers, how they get there, you know.
it's important to note that because too often you get lulled into good work like that, and you sometimes take it, just don't always take the time to appreciate, you know, that type of work. So
My
I
wife,
really know, I appreciate that.
very nice to have it all.
The county site inventory assessment project that the CRG and MVET are working on, moving along. I believe they're going to do an update. Lon is going to do an update at the next ED&E meeting. So we've sent them some information on our primary development areas. So that's just a work in progress. On the proposed sale of the former maintenance building, Lot Holdings is still conducting its due diligence. The key piece is what is it going to cost them to get a new electric service to the building. They've met with National Grid out there, but they need to get that quote from them before they can make a commitment to purchase that building. Unfortunately, our purchase contract with them says that they're supposed to let us know by July 15th, this Thursday, of their, are they going to buy it or not, based upon their due diligence. Since they haven't gotten something back from National Grid, asking if that date could be extended to September 15th, which I would recommend that we do that to give him enough time to complete that due diligence. So that's the proposed motion I'm making to. Dave makes that motion. So send me on for a second. Is there any questions on that?
How secure is he in that date? I mean, it's National Grid, so I don't know that anybody is secure with anything, but
It's what he suggested.
okay. All right, fair enough.
Okay. We may be talking this.
I
in
expect we
September.
will be, yes.
So we'll see.
Yeah.
Any other? Okay.
I have an unrelated question. I can't see everyone in the room. Is there an in-person quorum?
Is that the best we ask?
Oh.
Todd is over here.
Todd's sitting over here.
Oh, okay,
Yes.
perfect. I see you now.
So, all right, on the proposed motion to extend the date to September 15, any other questions? All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Very good. And lastly, at your last meeting, you authorized an entering easement agreement with Blairsville Board of Water Commissioners to provide permanent access to their infrastructure going up to the elevated tank. We drafted that agreement. It's in their hands. Hopefully we'll get that executed and completed here shortly. Okay. Okay. Next item under new business or old business is Vero Health. Dave, have a good day. We'll see you later. Yes, you won't be far. Okay. Vireo Health's proposed expansion project. This project was introduced at your last meeting. The project consists of construction of a 324,000 square foot freestanding facility on lots 1 and 2 in the Tryon Technology Park that Vireo is purchasing from the IDA. Project involves the demolition of all buildings on those 2 lots, as well as relocating a water line. Vireo will be applying for a adult use cultivator, processor, distributor, and retail dispensing license from the state of New York, which will allow them to participate in all aspects of the process of adult use cannabis here in New York State. The project application asks for a series of financial incentives. The 2 primary ones will be a real property tax exemption and a sales tax exemption. Since those incentive requests exceeded $100,000, a public hearing was held. That was held on Thursday, July 1st at 10 o'clock over in the Town of Perth Municipal Complex. No one spoke at that public hearing. Last week, Vireo submitted some updated civil and site plans to the IDA that included a number of minor changes to what was originally submitted. All of these changes really came about from input received by the town planning, from the town planning board. But they were incorporated into the plans that were resubmitted here. I'll give you a quick overview of what some of these plans involve. Again, this is the primary site plan here. One of the comments received from, say, like the Perth Volunteer Fire Department was they were originally looking at just fire hydrants at the 4 corners of the building. Perth Fire Department asked for some other ones to be installed because of the length of hoses that they have. They wanted more hydrants, so they responded to that. Some changes made to some of the stormwater management areas. Again, nothing of significance here, but generally speaking, the site plan looks the same. Entrance will be the primary entrance, and exit going out this way. All parking would be here in the front of the building. Mechanical equipment will be on this side over here. This will be the office component. The front entrance to the building will be right in this left front corner of the building. Here up front here, there's going to be a stone. They'll put their address on it, and on that address will be the Tryon logo. All right. And again, I guess that was the one comment that we had, is that the design standards call for the Tryon logo to be incorporated. I think from the demolition side of things, they've started with this building here, and they're working across and getting all of this area done first. This is phase 1 of the demolition piece. Then they're going to come back here and work west to east, demolishing all those buildings. Work started here last week. These buildings are all gone already. Okay, and they're coming up here this week to start up here. Same on the construction side of things. The construction of this project will go from west to east. Phase 1, they're going to start over here, getting this stormwater and grading done here. They're then going to work all the way around the building. Phase 2 over there. Once all of this site grading has been done, we'll start actually with the building here and construct the building across, going from west to east. This is a concrete precast panel walls with structural steel beams in between. structural steel beams will carry the structural steel that will form the roof, right, with the concrete panels in between. That's in essence the project. Hoping to start site work next week, if all goes well. All goes well relative to the town planning board meeting next Tuesday, next Monday, right? Yep. Yes. We're going to finish. Yeah, all of that is part of the stormwater management plan, okay, and ECM's erosion control measures. That's what all that language is all about. Okay. For today, moving on to the seeker process. At your last meeting, you took the action to classify the proposed project as a type 1 action. Propose that the IDA serve as a seeker lead agency, and we authorize the distribution of a Part 1 EAF to all other involved agencies, asking for their consent to the IDA serving as lead agency. Those letters were sent out on June 15th. We have received responses back from 4 of the 5 involved agencies that were sent those letters. All of the responses consented to the IDA board serving as seeker lead agency. And so to that end, I would recommend the adoption of this motion to designate the IDA to serve as the lead agency in a coordinated seeker review on the proposed burial health expansion project. Is someone willing to make that motion? Joe? Is there a second to that motion? Mike? Any questions on this motion to designate the IDA as seeker lead agency? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carried. The next part is to review the Part 2 environmental assessment form, which was attached to your agenda. It's a 10-page document. And as you go through here, there are a number of major questions that are asked, starting on page 1. Will the project have any impacts on land? The response is yes. But when you go through and I look at each of those sub-questions, all of the potential impacts, there either are none or small. Going on, item number 3, impacts on surface water. Yes, but all the impacts are either none or small. Impacts on groundwater. Yes, same thing, no or small impacts. Moving on to question number 8 on page 5. Again, the answer is yes, there are potential impacts, but none or small impacts will occur as you look at all of the individual questions that are asked there. And then lastly, on page 8, there are 3 other questions that the answers are yes to in terms of having potential impacts, but the responses are still no or small impacts occurring under each of those. So the Part 2 form basically says, yes, there may be some potential impacts, but none will be considered moderate or large, which is usually the trigger for having to prepare a draft environmental impact statement. Okay. Any questions on the Part 2 EAF?
With the 8, even though we marked it, yes, impact on agricultural resources. They're obviously, it's going to be a grow facility,
The
not
issue,
in the traditional sense of farming, but.
the issue there, Mike, is the underlying land suitable for agricultural production? And when you look at the soil classifications out there, one could argue that they have the potential to be used for agricultural purposes. So that's why we answered yes. Okay,
Just talk to the agencies, Jim, that are out, is that where this report goes?
no, this is,
Besides us.
no one. You as the seeker lead agency, this is your responsibility, our responsibility to have this prepared and put on file. What goes to the involved agencies is the part 1 EAF, the 16-page document with all those detailed information on there about the project. Okay, but it's the lead agency's responsibility to prepare this document. We're not obligated to send this around to other involved agencies.
Okay, no questions on the first part of this? Part
Nope,
one?
nope. Nope. Okay, yes, moving on to item D. Based upon the review of the part 1, which you looked at last month, the part 2 that you just looked at, all the drawings and other information that is available to you, the issue now is you have to issue what's called this determination of significance. You have 2 options. It can be a positive declaration, which says you've identified 1 or more potentially moderate or large impacts this project could create, and therefore you want to have a draft environmental impact statement prepared for this project, proposed project. The other option is to issue a negative declaration, saying you've looked at everything and you don't see the project creating any moderate or large impacts. Okay, those would be your 2 options. So I would ask for someone to make a motion and identify which option you wish to make. Okay. Is there a second to that motion?
Yes, there is.
Seconds that motion. Are there any questions on the proposed motion to issue a negative declaration for this proposed project? Hearing none, all in favor of the proposed motion, say aye. Anyone opposed? Motion is carried. Town of Perth Planning Board meets Monday. They have a public hearing scheduled on the site plan, and assuming no issues come up, it is anticipated that they will take action on that site plan at their meeting on Monday, which would then clear the way for Verio to start its site work after that. So, last item on the agenda regarding this proposed project is the resolution to approve granting the requested financial benefits for this proposed project. Again, the resolution is attached to your agenda. It is the standard resolution that Kara prepares. Kara, anything to add or to explain on that?
No, I don't think that there's anything out of the ordinary with respect to this project. It sets out the estimated financial assistance that will be provided. And it was only contingent upon your seeker review, and that's been completed. So.
Any questions on the proposed resolution? Yes, those, it's not in the resolution, it'll be in the documents that'll be signed, executed as part of this project, right, Kara? The clawback provisions will be included in typically what document?
They're typically included in the agent agreement for the sales tax piece, but then they're also included in the pilot agreement, and then they're referenced in every other document.
Okay, would someone make a motion to adopt the resolution as presented? Todd Willison. Is there a second to that motion? Mike? Are there any other questions on that proposed resolution? Yes, sir.
Are they, I know we talked about bonds. Doesn't seem to look like they've got a private financing
That's
They
correct.
won't be required now.
It doesn't appear that's going to be the case right now. In term, they have not been able to find a buyer in the market for this. So it looks like they're going to be using the REIT to finance this project.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, let's take a vote. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carried. All righty. Let's see. Okay, next item of business, moving on to new business, is the proposed Huffman Car Wash project. Huffman's purchased the former Traverse Diner property some time ago. Huffman's is proposing to subdivide that property into two parcels. The first parcel would retain the former Traverse Diner structure on it with some parking. And the second parcel would be the one upon which Huffman's would be constructing its proposed car wash project on. With that, Marty Andrews, the Director of Development with Huffman's Car Wash, has joined us here this morning. I asked Marty to give a quick rundown on his proposed project. All right. Thanks, Marty. You could stand or sit wherever you'd like to. How's that?
Good morning.
One thing, I do have a copies of their site plan. If you would, anyone would like to take a look. Reference? Ready. Sorry, Mike, go ahead.
Good morning. Again, I'm Marty Andrews, Director of Development for Huffman Development Corporation. We're proposing to build a 6,400 square foot state-of-the-art car wash here in Gloversville at the old Traverse Diner site. As everybody knows, that site was empty for a long time. It's a highly distressed area, but we feel that once we bring something new to this area, that we can be successful. We're very successful at our marketing. We offer an unlimited program that's very attractive to people. So you can wash your cars, one monthly subscription fee, and you can wash it from the all the equipment is constantly updated. We build most of the car wash equipment that's going to be installed. Right? So we build car wash equipment across the country, but we have a manufacturing spot in our own equipment. So we're always upgrading the equipment. Every machinery there will utilize a VFD, so it's an energy savings. The whole site will be LED lit. We will install, I think, 19 vacuum spots. These will be free vacuuming for the residents that show up. You don't have to wash your car. You can come in and vacuum your car at any time. It'll be open from 8 to 8. I should say it'll be open the same hours as car washes. We install a reclaim system, so we reuse some of the wastewater that's the processed water for the car washing, approximately between 15 and 20 gallons per car. It's a pretty sophisticated system, but something that we have perfected over years. And again, a lot of people across the country work for us for guidance on how to use the reclaim system. We'll employ around 10 people, 4 full-time, 6 part-time. It all depends on how busy we get. It could be 5 and 7. Depends on how it all works out. But these are a good job. It's a good job for the full-time people, and it's a great job for young people to get started into the workforce. We're gonna subdivide, we subdivided the property, the Travers Diner is one parcel. We have that on the market. We have redesigned it so it could have a drive-through. We've had some interest in it, and I think once we go in there and start the building process, the interest will really jump up. Right now, it just seems out there all by itself, so I think that's gonna really be an attractive spot once they see the cars that we will generate to that area. I think that's all I have. Guys have any questions?
I have a question.
Yeah.
My question is for the street. When you talk about subdividing, the Travers Diner, as it is now, is not gonna be part of the car wash at all. Right, that's correct. Okay, so it'll, you think, continue to be a diner, or somebody would buy it and turn it into something else?
It could be anything.
Okay.
You know, so we also own Jiffy Lube, and that's something that we, you know, we have that fallback to do. We just, you know, have it pull that trigger to.
Okay, I was just a little. What would
We do have interest in the restaurant, so we do have some inquiries, and I think it's just soft right now with COVID and the restaurant business being not full speed, so we have.
Nice barbecue restaurant would be great. You started on that, would you? You started on that.
So we're looking to put the project out to bid on the 20th of July coming up with a September start date, and the build time is 9 months. 10 months. We try to utilize as many local contractors as possible. Right now, we have a couple going up in Utica, and we're utilizing local contractors and suppliers. The town will definitely see a benefit once we come in and we start buying stuff.
I've never been to a Hoffman car wash like that, but sounds very high tech. How are you different than the one that's just down?
So we'll also have, I didn't point out, we'll have 3 point of sale tellers. So a contactless, so you can pull up, and you can either have your membership pass, and we have an automatic gate. We'll have an RFID sticker on your car. The gate goes up automatically. You pull into the car wash. No contact. We have 3 point, but you can also do just like an ATM teller. We have a point of sale teller there. Put your credit card in, take what wash you want, and the gate will open up. The difference is for us is the equipment. What is supplied here in town now is an antiquated car wash equipment. We have a water savings program, high pressure to wash your car, touchless or without brushing your car, going in, prepping it ahead of time. Just be a prepless. You come in and it automatically washes your car. All right. So
I go to another one that now is unlimited, and you always have to do stuff in the beginning.
yeah.
And then we send it down the line.
We'll have we have a heating system at the end of the process that dries your car. Does a really, really good job. So
Marty, what other existing facility that you guys have, would this one be most comparable to?
the closest one here for you guys would be we have one on North Line Road in, well, it's in the city of Saratoga, but it's just north of
Yeah, that would be the one that would be most comparable.
and we just built one on Choice Connectee Road, 1066 Choice Connectee Road in Latham. That's what the building would look like. That's a little longer tunnel. It's a little bigger piece of property, but our normal car wash is 160 foot tunnel.
You mentioned, how many vacuums?
I think we have 19. Free.
No, like points, nothing.
Pull in and grab your hose. So that separates us from any.
Yeah,
anybody else.
that's another thing that's.
Yeah. And there's no, you don't have to use, you don't have to use the car wash. You can pull in and use that.
Huh?
For one car.
Do you have any similar type of deal for family?
You know what, that's a question that I don't know, from a marketing point. I think we do, but
No worries.
I think we do. I think that, we have multiple, price tests. I've never been asked that question.
I asked the same question at the other place.
Yeah.
I had 4 vehicles.
Yeah.
2 personal. I asked if there would be a savings. 4 times. 4 vehicles, and they said no, it's 1 per car, and choose whichever level you want. That's how. The incentive to,
And that must be the Amsterdam.
the one right down in Johnstown.
Oh, Johnstown, that.
Oh, sounds like a very nice project. We look forward to having you here.
Thanks, Marty.
Right.
Okay, on page 9 of your agenda, we have received a project application requesting 3 IDA financial incentives, the real property tax exemption, sales tax, and mortgage reporting tax exemptions. The dollar values of those, estimated dollar values of those are listed in the agenda. And since the total exceeds $100,000, a public hearing will have to be held. We'll get to that in a minute. As we do with every project, the IDA board needs to take a look at your project criteria that you've established that are in the project application to evaluate and determine whether the project qualifies for financial incentives. The 5 criteria are listed on page 9. The first one is, will the project create or retain jobs? The answer is yes. They're going to create 4 full-time and 6 part-time jobs. And there will also be construction jobs created as a part of this project too. What are the wages to be paid? Those are taken right out of the project application in terms of the annual and average salary for management and for the production workers that will be there. 3, total private sector investment is estimated at $6.6 million. Marty, does that include your the purchase price of the land?
Yes.
Okay. Next, how much local labor will be utilized? And as Marty just said, we will attempt to utilize as much as possible on the project. And how much will property values and property tax increase for local jurisdictions? And the answer to that is to be determined. The good news is that the existing building, as Marty just explained, will stay. So the current assessed valuation that's associated with that building will stay. The new car wash will generate new assessed valuation. What we don't know today is what is the city of Gloversville going to assess that property for. But whatever that number is, it will generate new property tax revenues for the city of Gloversville, for the county of Fulton, and for the Gloversville School District. Okay? Those are your 5 project criteria to determine whether or not you think the project qualifies for receiving financial incentives. Okay? So based upon that, is there any questions on those criteria?
When I go through the car wash, when I pay, is there sales tax associated with that payment? Is the service taxable? Because, I mean, if it is, there's additional revenue from that
It
perspective.
is. It's factored into the fee. Okay.
Have we ever considered putting sales tax in? You thought we get more retail?
We haven't, but you can certainly identify that, and, you know, whenever it's applicable as another reason why, in your opinion, this particular project is deserving of financial incentive. Okay? Having said that, is someone willing to make a motion then regarding whether this project qualifies for financial incentives?
I would like to do that. It does check all the boxes.
Okay.
It's addition to our rate.
Is there a second to that motion? Mike? Any further questions or discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carried. The project structure will be pretty straightforward. HDC2 Company LLC will lease the property to the IDA, and the IDA will in turn lease it back to that company. Kara, is anything changed there? Is that still your understanding?
Yep, that's still my understanding of the structure.
Thank you. Project number has been assigned. Seeker review has actually been completed. The City of Gloversville Planning Board, when they initiated their review of the site plan several months ago, conducted a coordinated seeker review. The IDA was included in that coordinated review, and they issued a negative declaration that was filed with the IDA. So we do not need to do a seeker review on this particular project. Last is actually the public hearing. Attached to your agenda is the resolution to schedule the public hearing. It's towards the end. It's a 3-page document. The public hearing is scheduled for Tuesday, July 27th, 10 a.m. at the Fulton County Center for Regional Growth's offices, who've generously offered their space there in the upstairs meeting room for us to have the public hearing. Any questions on the proposed resolution? Kara, again, pretty the standard resolution. Yep.
Sorry, I'm mid sneeze. Yeah. Yeah, there's nothing out of the ordinary. Because it's a retail project, we're looking into the criteria for the exceptions. So I'll have more information for you in advance of the public hearing. We're just looking at whether the highly distressed component is applicable here, and based on some of the information that we've received from the US Census, it appears that that's the case.
Very good. So we need a motion to adopt the resolution scheduling the public hearing. Is someone willing to make that motion? Todd Rulison makes the motion. Is there a second to this motion?
Yeah.
Dean, you're quiet today.
I didn't think I should speak if I'm not really there.
Oh, you're here.
You're here.
Okay, then I'll second the motion.
Any other questions on the resolution? All in favor of that resolution, say aye. Anyone opposed? Very good. The last item, again, just as Kara mentioned, since this application is a retail project, the Section 862 of General Municipal Law places certain restrictions on how IDAs can provide financial assistance to retail projects. And to do so, the project must meet one or both of the two criteria that are listed there in your agenda. The predominant purpose of the project would be to make available goods or services which would not, but for the project, be reasonably accessible to the residents of the city, town, or village within which the proposed project would be located because of a lack of reasonably accessible retail trade facilities offering such goods or services. Or two, that the project is located in a highly distressed area. Okay, and so Kara, this determination we have to make after the public hearing, correct?
After the public hearing, correct?
And so at your next meeting, you'll be asked to make that finding. And what the law then says is that once you make that finding, that this project meets one or both of those criteria, the chairman of the board of supervisors will need to kind of endorse that finding. So that's the kind of the unique procedure that section 862 of general municipal law spells out. Okay, so nothing to act on today, but just to give you that heads up that that will be part of the agenda for you. Okay. All right. Can you go get Dave? Thanks, Scott. That's it for you. Thank you. All right. We'll be in touch.
A good or bad?
Not good.
Yeah.
Yes. I've been to the one out on 50.
That's just not a huge. That's what I thought the case was.
The vacuum thing is just amazing. You know, they have provided for free. Yeah. The one on Balsam Spot, I met two daughters live right there. You drive by there, there's always a lot of people there. So, hi Dave, welcome back.
Thank you.
Okay, board training. Move on, really quick. Conflicts of interest. Since they've been
Let's talk about that.
prevalent here in the last meeting, a couple of meetings. You know, we run into these all the time. It's just the nature of the business when you're dealing with a board, particularly a board of active people, you have conflicts. And so the law provides a procedure that we need to follow. And as long as you follow the procedure, you know, it's okay to have conflicts. There are two types, actual and perceived. Actual ones are pretty easily to define. Dave's firm's working for the, you know, here it's an actual conflict. The other one are the perceived ones. You know, and that's where you're really not, you know, does it look, sound, feel like, you know, and but they're both potential conflicts of interest. And what do? I think there's the three words: disclose, referral, or disclose, recuse and abstain, and record it. Okay? Disclose what Dave's done. I work for CT Mail. We're working on this project. I therefore have a conflict of interest. Okay, that's the disclosure part. Recuse and abstain. What did Dave do? He got up in the board meeting, he left the meeting and recused himself and abstained, therefore, from voting on any action from which he has a conflict with. And three, record. The minutes of the meeting will record the disclosure and the refrain and walking out. Those are the three things that you have to do. Well, the referral would be in that situation where there's a perceived conflict, okay? But there's not a certainty. What you do here is you refer that perceived conflict to the IDA's governance committee. And the governance committee makes that interpretation. And comes back and says, we interpret this perceived conflict as one that should exist. So therefore we should disclose, refrain, and record. Conversely, if the committee says no, then that board member would be free to participate. Okay?
When did it start that?
Kara, that's a fairly recent change, isn't it, from the ABO?
Yeah, the guidance is, it just keeps, it kind of started with the modifications to the not-for-profit law and the best practices to not participate in the conversation, to not participate in any of the conversations at all with respect to a project. I can get like an exact date, but with so many of the IDAs having a CDC also or an LDC, though they were subject to the not-for-profit corporation law revisions. And so the best practice was picked up by ABO as well.
I know when I did Benjamin Moore, I did, I just couldn't.
It's fairly recent.
Yeah.
It's, it is what it is.
Yeah, that's fine.
And it's, but it, for Kara, correct me if I'm wrong, but for IDAs, it's recommended practice by the ABO, correct? It's not in statute that this has to happen.
Correct.
All right, so what I'm suggesting here is that we follow ABO recommended practice. The law doesn't say this. It's a recommended practice from the ABO, but it works. It works, you know,
That's what I was doing.
because in the past, you know, if Dave was, just his presence here, right, could influence someone's decision on how to vote on a matter. By recusing yourself, it theoretically lessens that potential impact. So,
I mean, conflict of interest is a statutory provision. The
Correct.
manner in which to handle that is an ABO best practice. I mean, you're still subject to the general law of you have to disclose a potential conflict, like all other municipal entities have to.
right. Okay. I'd like to call for an executive session to discuss the proposed acquisition, sale, or lease of real property, or the proposed acquisition of securities, or sale or exchange of securities held by the public body, but only when the publicity was substantially offer affect the value thereof. Would someone be willing to make that motion to go into executive? Dave?
Thank you.
Is there a second to that motion? Joe? All in favor, say aye. Anyone opposed? We have gone into executive session at 8:58 a.m. Second to that motion? Well, Dave,
I'll second.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
8:28 a.m. Okay. And one item to the agenda, asking for a motion to authorize an expenditure of up to $85,000 to replace a section of the water line going up to the elevated tank at Tryon, and request the Lowersville Board of Water Commissioners make a contribution towards that project cost of up to 50%.
Okay, I'm gonna recuse myself.
Thank you, Dave. Yep. Okay, thank you, Mike. Any further discussion? You understand, talking about that water line that goes from County Road 117 up to the elevated tank that is owned by the Board of Water Commissioners. The portion that crosses Virio's property, Virio is paying to have that relocated, and this contribution would result in the balance of that line being replaced, so that that entire section of water line would be brand new and best serve the Tryon Technology Park. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Anyone opposed? Our next meeting is Tuesday, August 10th. Is any other business to offer here today? Would someone make a motion to close the meeting?
I'll make a motion.
Jane Kelly, Joe Semyon, all in favor, say aye. Anyone opposed? Meeting closed at 9:27 a.m. Thank you all.